Thank you for joining us for Stop, Drop, and Deduplicate Your Data. We all know how duplicates can create a mess of our data. They can even be an indication of fraudulent activity. Ricardo Murillo, Solutions Specialist with Automation Services, is going to show us how IDEA can help you sort through the duplicates and get a cleaner picture of your data. If you have any questions during this presentation, you may enter them in the question box on the right side of your screen. We will answer questions at the end of the presentation. Thank you for joining us, Ricardo.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ricardo Murillo. I'm with Automation Services, and today we're going to be talking about duplicates and how we can find them easily with IDEA. So let's go ahead and start. So first of all, let's go ahead and do what is duplication of data? It's easy. The duplication of data is basically any duplicate transactions that you have in your data, and it could be a cause of many problems. It could be in your duplicate invoices. It could be duplicates in vendor-employee master data. It could be duplicate in expense reports. Sometimes searching through those records, thousands of records, can be time-consuming and inefficient. And even if you have it drilled down to smaller portions, it could also be harder to identify smaller particles, such as, in addition to the duplicates, you could have non-exact duplicates, and they could be a lot more difficult to find because they might have an A at the end of a specific field that you were looking at for duplicates. So let's talk a little bit of a difference between exact duplicates and fuzzy duplicates. So when you're searching for an exact duplicate, the key fields that you're selecting or that you're comparing against, they have to be exact matches, so the values have to be precise. In some cases where the data is similar but not exactly the same, those records, when you're doing the exact duplicates, won't be found or won't be included in your result sets. For instance, if we're searching for transaction IDs, exact duplicate transaction IDs, in the following example, those two records would be found because they're exact duplicates and there's nothing different about them. However, if in your result set you have an extra transaction that has an A tagged at the end of the field itself, when you do the exact duplicates, only the first two would get caught. That last one would be excluded from your result sets. And if you miss that one, that could be a potential fraud in some cases, or might not be as big, but you might also want to catch that one in your result sets. And this is where the fuzzy duplicates come into play. Although the exact duplicates can be very helpful, sometimes the fuzzy duplicates are the ones that you're looking for. With the fuzzy duplicates in IDEA, it allows you to search for duplicates where the data is similar to each other. So in this case, that last transaction ID with the A tacked on at the end of it, you would be able to find it. For the fuzzy duplicate analysis, IDEA uses an algorithm that Levenstein came up with to define the degree of similarity. The degree of similarity is expressed in a percentage, and it measures the closeness between the two records, or the data in the two records, by calculating how many the number of deletions, insertions, or substitutions that it requires the data to actually go from one to the other. Meaning, in our example above, in this case, because it's only one letter, the difference would be between these two, only one. Because if you take the A away, it would match the data above it. Now with IDEA, and we'll go ahead and do this process in IDEA itself so you'll have a better picture of how it works. But in IDEA, you are able to define what percentage of similarity it is, and the higher the percentage, or the higher the degree that you select, the closer that the data must be to each other in order to be considered fuzzy duplicate. The lower it is, the more items you'll be able to catch that might not be potential duplicates. They just might be false duplicates. So just to show you, in most cases, people use Excel to find duplicates, and that's a very good tool to do, because it will help you, and we'll go ahead and show you how you could potentially find duplicates in Excel. But the only problem with Excel is that it's easier to find exact duplicates than doing fuzzy duplicates. And we'll go ahead and cover that. So let's go ahead and jump over to Excel. So let's say we want to find exact duplicates based on vendor, reference doc, doc date, and amount. Just we want to find exact duplicates that fit that criteria. So the first thing that I would recommend is adding a field. So we're going to go ahead and do a duplicate exact by vendor, reference, doc, and amount. You might want to name the field a little bit better, but in this case, I'll just abbreviate it to just define what fields we'll be using. I'll go ahead and add the vendor, the reference doc, the date, and the amount. So now we have a field that has all of them, and we'll be able to find if they have exact. I'll go ahead and copy the data down, and then just using that field, we're going to go ahead and do conditional formatting because it's one of the easiest ways to find duplicates in Excel. And I'll go ahead and say duplicate values. We'll go ahead and do a light red fill just so that it would stand out a little bit more. So now we have exact duplicates on the data itself. And if we do a filter, and filter by color, you now find that these are exact duplicates. However, if we look at the data itself, in this case this one, although it's similar to each other, same date, same amount, same vendor, because of that one, it didn't get caught as a duplicate itself. Now we could play with it and mess a little bit more with it so that you would be able to capture that one using equations or various other techniques, but it's a lot more work. You can go ahead and filter the data even more by doing another field, duplicate exact by, let's just go ahead and do by, let's do it by vendor, or I'm sorry, by reference doc and the amount, just so that we can find those duplicates where those two are the same, but the vendors might be different. For instance, you might get this transaction right here where it's also an exact duplicate, but because of the vendors being different, you wouldn't be able to catch that as an exact duplicate. So we're going to go ahead and do a reference doc key field with an amount. Again, you would just append the field, copy it down, and then do the conditional formatting to find duplicate values. This time, the same result set came up, but now others that have the same reference doc and amount, but might be different vendor or different date, would be showing up as well. Again, we can go ahead and add a filter. And filter it out by that. Now the only thing here is that we're still working on your main data. We're only appending fields and filtering the data. In some cases, you might want to move this out to a different tab or a different sheet and give it a different name so that you can separate it out and know what you're working with. But again, if you're wanting to find duplicates where these two would get caught in Excel, it would be a little bit more work than what it might take an idea. So let's go ahead and move from Excel, and we're going to go ahead and go into IDEA. So I just went ahead and imported the data just as it was in Excel. So everything that was in Excel, it's also in here. But with IDEA, without having to add the additional fields, we can go ahead and do a duplicate detection. Same thing that we did before, where we wanted it to be by vendor, by reference doc, by date, and by amount. We'll go ahead and add that as the key field, basically. And we can go ahead and give this new table that's going to get extracted out. So we can go ahead and call it duplicates by vendor, reference, date, and amount. So now we'll basically end up with the same records that we had before in Excel, but now this one actually took it out into a different table so that you can come back and find it a lot easier rather than being in just one spreadsheet. And it was all by a click of a button. Let's go ahead and do the other exception as well. So let's go ahead and do another duplicate key detection, and this time by reference and by amount. We'll go ahead and call this one duplicates by reference and amount. So in here, the same process that we did in Excel, we were able to do it without adding the additional fields, without filtering the data, because it automatically took it out into its own table. Now, with regards to the duplication, where it might have the same reference doc, the same date or the same amount, but different vendors, with Excel, you can also do that by filtering the data out to see if it has the same reference doc, and then play with the data to see which ones don't match by vendor. In IDEA, what you could do is you could do a duplicate key, and you would do an exclusion. So the same things that we wanted the same reference doc, and let's just go ahead and do the same amount. But the field that has to be different in order to be caught as a duplicate in this case would be the vendor. Oh. So we're going to go ahead and call this one duplicates by reference and amount, different vendor. So now we'll be able to catch those where it was the exact same reference doc, same amount, but where the vendors were different. So with IDEA, we basically are able to cover the same thing that we did in Excel, with the addition of the exclusion to find out where some data might be related and one of the fields is different. In addition to that, IDEA has the capability of doing fuzzy duplicates, again, with the click of a button. So in this case, we can go ahead and define our field. So what we're going to do in this case is, because we want to find those reference docs that are similar but not exact, in addition to the exact duplicates if you wanted to go that route, we're going to go ahead and do just by invoice reference doc. So we want to find those that have the same reference doc. And in IDEA, automatically, it does the 80% similarity degree. So again, the higher the percentage you put, the more closer those the data has to be related to each other. The lower it is, the more false duplicates you might catch. But if there's big changes to the data, you'd be able to catch it with the lower percentage. Now, it's not just with the A tacked at the end. For instance, if you have South Street, and in one case they put street, the word street itself, and in another case they put ST, if you lower the percentage down, those would actually be caught as duplicates, because it'll calculate what difference, the amount of difference it took for the street to go to ST, and if it's enough that you've selected in your percentage, those would get caught as well. So it's not just a letter at the end or a letter at the beginning, it's actually the data itself. If it's similar to each other anywhere throughout the string, it'd be able to catch it. So for this one, all we want to do is we want to catch those where the reference doc is the same. It'll go ahead and add a fuzzy duplicate group key, where it'll provide you with the main string that it used to find the duplicates itself. And you can also include the exact duplicates, or you can exclude them. You can tell it that it has to match the case if that's a requirement for you. But we're going to go ahead and leave it by default. And we're going to go ahead and call this one fuzzy duplicates by reference doc. Now, as you can see, it's going to give us a group ID, telling us that the key or the string that it used was this one, to find out if these reference docs were similar. And then it also gives us the similarity degree. So if it's a 1, that means that it was an exact match. That was the original one. And then between this one and this one, there was a 0.90 degree of similarity. It also gives you the record number as to where it came from, and then you're able to find the data itself to find the matches. Now from here, you could potentially go forward and move even closer to find those that were exact duplicates. For instance, if you wanted to run another duplication to find those where in this data the invoice docs were the same and the invoice amounts were the same, again, you could go back up to duplicate key detection. You could do duplicate records, select the fields. So we're going to go ahead and do doc date. Oh, I'm sorry. Doc date and the amount. We're going to go ahead and hit OK. Now for this one, I'm going to go ahead and call it fuzzy duplicate with same date and amount. So now we have the fuzzy duplicates that were caught and showing us same invoice doc date and same invoice amount. So you can actually go deeper and deeper each time to find the records that you're looking for. Now, just to go back into the into the duplicate key detection, you have the ability, which I've been doing, to find the duplicate records. However, you could you could also find those records that do not have duplicates based on the key. So it'll basically give you the opposite of what you're doing. So instead of giving us the 14, we can go ahead and rerun the task and give us the output records without duplicates to give us the 35 records that did not have those duplicates based on the fields that you've selected. Let's go back to the main data now. Now, with the fuzzy duplicates that we did, we got a 49% because of the percentage that we did. If we were to go back up here and actually, because we did this and we did the fuzzy duplicate, we can come back to this one, rerun the task that we did, basically selecting the same data files that we, same settings that we had selected originally, and we can reduce the percentage or increase. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and increment it a little bit to 90, and I'm going to go ahead and call it with 90%. So now instead of catching 49 records, it's going to drill down to 32. It's going to start making sure that the data is even more concise, more precise as to the similarity. Next, so now what we're going to go ahead and do, so we're going to go back into the vendor data, and we're going to go ahead and try running it. Sorry about that. We're going to go ahead and try running it on the vendor address just to show you what would be caught with the duplicate fuzzy duplicates. So we're going to go ahead and do duplicate key, and we're going to do a fuzzy duplicates on our main data. And we're going to go ahead and select the key fields. And this time what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and do a vendor address. I'm sorry, not the vendor address. And we can include the city, the country, and the state. I do apologize, not the state. I can only do 3. We're going to go ahead and reduce the percentage down to 70. Just so that anything that, like for instance, ST may not be caught with the 80 percentage. So we're going to go ahead and reduce that to 70, and we're going to go ahead and call it fuzzy duplicates by address. So again, because we did it by address, city, and country, it went ahead and added the group name, and it caught all those that were duplicates. Now, if you wanted to find those that weren't exact duplicates, one way of doing that is don't include the exact duplicates, so that you only get those where either the record number is different than what it was originally, or the similarity degree wasn't um, precise. But if you've done it this way, so that if you included the duplicates, what you can do is you can exclude the exact duplicates by where it's 1%. So if we do a similarity degree criteria where it's not equal to 1, we can again find those records where the original data did not match exactly. So we get those potential either fraud or mistakes that could have been inserted into the system. Let me go ahead and jump back into, so using Excel, again, you are able to find duplicates, but it would take a lot more work to find the fuzzy duplicates, those potential relatable records. Whereas in IDEA, you can go ahead and just by the click of a button, select what key fields you want it to do, and it would extract it into its own data, table or database for you to analyze it even more. That's all I have for today. Lindsay, is there any questions?
Thanks, Ricardo, for sharing with us. We did have a couple questions, mostly about getting the presentation and being able to review the presentation at a later date. So we did record the session today. We will be sending the recording in email later this week. We also did link the slides as a handout on the right side of your screen. I've heard from at least one person that they're having an issue downloading the slides. If you cannot download the slides, we'll go ahead and email that when we send the recording. They also asked if we could send a data file. Ricardo, would we be able to send, I'm going to put you on the spot, so I apologize. Would we be able to send the data file that you were working with if someone wanted to use it as an example if they have IDEA? Okay, great. If we don't have IDEA and would like to learn more about how IDEA works with duplicates, you can send me an email or you can email Ricardo. His email address is on the screen. And we can either get you set up with a demo or just get you some more information about IDEA and how it works with exact and fuzzy duplicates. If there aren't any other questions, I'll give another second for someone to think of something. We'll go ahead and say thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I don't see anything popping up, just some good jobs. So thank you for joining us. And again, if you come up with anything, just go ahead and send an email to Ricardo. Thank you.
Thank you.